Hi, I'm CJ and welcome to the tutorial for CRCs in Super Mario Odyssey. This video will specifically cover the CRCs used in minimum captures. Make sure to join the Discord linked in the description, as it has some resources you'll need for the CRCs. Also, if you have any questions, you can ask those in the Discord. Before starting a run, make sure to turn off motion control aiming in the settings. If you're not playing in English, go into the settings, pick the third option for controls, then go to the fourth option to turn off motion aiming. Also, make sure to go to these timestamps if you're looking for a specific CRC. For the first CRC, in Cascade Kingdom, after you've gotten the treasure chest moon and made your way through the 2D section, grab the checkpoint at the top and bring Mario here. The checkpoint isn't required, but it does help for retrying just in case you miss a CRC. Anyways, stand Mario on this rock and send Cappy out using the second controller so he's behind it. Then, turn Mario around, center the camera, and make your way off the cliff. Make sure to avoid going into the red areas shown, and try not to jump too high with Mario. Doing these things could result in Cappy getting unstuck. Here's an example of successful movement from the 2D area to jumping off the cliff. Now that you're on the ground, if Cappy's icon is on one of the sides of the screen and is disappearing, he's stuck and you're ready for the next step. However, if his icon is staying at the top center of your screen, warp back up and try again. You can also just turn the camera around and see if Cappy's behind you. If Cappy is stuck, don't worry, he can't get unstuck now and you can take all the time you want. Make your way over to where the Odyssey would usually spawn and position Mario in front of this log on the ground. Slowly walk onto the log so Mario's right foot is touching the edge of these blue flowers here. Make sure not to walk too far onto the log so that Mario's feet stay at the angle they are in this picture. If he's too far on the log or not far enough, Mario's feet won't be angled properly and Cappy will miss the checkpoint. Now that you're on the right slope, it's time to line Mario up. Line it up by slightly adjusting Mario to the left or the right and using L and R to center the camera. A good visual indicator for this setup is to have the middle of Mario's head lined up with this corner of the rock in front of him. This lineup is pretty lenient to the left of the checkpoint, but for some reason, if you aim too far right, Cappy won't home into the checkpoint and will just fly right by it. Once you're lined up, crouch with Mario and shake the Cappy controller at the same time. Make sure not to crouch too early before shaking the controller. If you do, Mario will start sliding out of position and it'll mess up the aim. If you did everything right, Cappy should hit the checkpoint right after warping. But here's a few things that could have gone wrong. If you see Cappy spawn below or inside of the island, it means Mario was on the wrong slope. Check again before you crouch to make sure that his feet are as vertical as they are in this picture. If Cappy goes too far left or right, well, that means you aim too far left or right. Get a feeling for the aim, and if you're just starting out, you can take as much time as you want to make sure it's good. And if Cappy got unstuck while jumping off the cliff, and you followed the instructions from earlier, well, to be honest, you just got unlucky. Try to copy the exact line I took in the video and hopefully that'll help. Moving on, we have the Sherm Skip CRC. Sherm Skip has two options, one easier but slower version and a faster, more advanced version. This tutorial will cover the beginner version, but remember to check the CRC Discord and the slides document if you want to eventually learn the harder version. The first thing you'll need for this CRC is the beats. These beats help time the ground pounds for Cappy and the CRC inputs needed later. The beats can be found in the Discord channel linked in the description. Line Mario up here at the corner closest to the Metro mainland. Have him hang from the edge of the railing and use L and R to center the camera. Tap down on the stick to have Mario let go of the railing, then hold up to walk all the way into it. Now, tap down on the stick quickly to turn Mario around. Make sure the compass is facing as perfect north as possible. Check that Mario's feet are sloped as shown, and if everything is good, send Cappy out with the second controller. Play the CRC beat titled Sherm Skip Non-S2W or Shake to Win 54. Play the beat and make sure to ground pound with the Cappy controller on the larger beats. Here's an example. Keep doing this for 54 ground pounds until you hear this part of the beat. Now it's time to do the actual CRC. You'll want to use the Cappy controller for these next inputs. One thing to note is that you need to crouch with the Mario controller during the CRC inputs. He can be crouched during the ground pounds as well, but it's not required, only at the end. I'll first show a video example of the CRC with inputs, then explain. Now that you understand how the beats work, go ahead and try it for yourself. Here's what could have gone wrong with this part. First, if Cappy came back during the ground pounds, it just means you either pressed Y or shook your controller a little too hard by accident. If while doing the CRC inputs, Cappy just ends up back on Mario's head instead of teleporting, it means the second Y press was too early. It could also mean that you didn't crouch with Mario during the inputs. If Cappy doesn't teleport, and he gets sent off Mario's head when he returns, it means the second Y input was too late. But if you did everything right, Cappy should teleport and you'll see his icon move or blink. Once this happens, pause the game. When you're ready, unpause the game and get Mario on top of the box by backflipping, ground pounding on the rail, and at the peak of the jump, cap stall into the wall and dive up. Once you get up, pause the game again. Now swap into one player mode and immediately after the transition, go into first person by clicking the right stick and snapshot mode by pressing down on the D-pad. The timing for this isn't super tight, but you don't want to take too much time doing it. If you entered snapshot mode and can't move the camera around, quickly exit and re-enter it until you can move the camera. Once you can move the camera, aim at the checkpoint on the mainland by zooming in with the X button. The camera is really sensitive here, so use slight movements to aim at the checkpoint. Also, the height of this aim doesn't matter, so if the box is slightly above or below the checkpoint, that's okay. Once you're aimed directly at the checkpoint flag, press B to exit snapshot and immediately pause. Well, not exactly immediately. The timing here is a little awkward. You don't want to be too slow, but you need to give about 5 frames or more in between exiting snapshot and pausing the game. This time is used for Mario to properly turn towards the checkpoint. After pausing, go back into 2-player and start shaking with Cappy during the transition. As the black fades away, crouch with Mario. Don't crouch too early though, because it takes a second for the inputs to be recognized. Now, if everything went well, Cappy should teleport and hit the checkpoint. But here's a couple things that could have gone wrong during this part. If you bonked getting onto the box, you didn't wait until the peak of the jump to cap stall into the wall. If Cappy didn't teleport and came back to Mario's head, Mario either wasn't crouched in time or the shake input didn't go through. If Cappy teleported to the left or right of the checkpoint, you either didn't aim correctly or didn't give enough time after leaving snapshot for Mario to turn. And if Cappy teleported in line with the checkpoint but didn't hit it, then Cappy was at the wrong distance. This likely means you missed some ground pounds, but could also be affected by Mario's alignment on the compass at the beginning. When you arrive in Bowser's Kingdom, immediately make your way to the right side of this roof here. Position Mario as far right as possible while having him pushed up against the top part of the roof. Now, line Mario up with the checkpoint island by adjusting left and right with the stick and centering the camera with L and R. He doesn't need to face perfectly towards the checkpoint, but anywhere in its general direction should work. You can either use the beat to time the ground pounds, or just spam the ground pound buttons as fast as you can for 1 minute and 28 seconds. If you choose to use the beat, use the one titled 1 to 3 D2W or Death to Win. Once the ground pounds are done, wait 2 seconds, then crouch with Mario and start shaking with Cappy. The moment you see Cappy teleport, pause the game. If you want, you can also pause buffer before he teleports to make the timing easier. After pausing the game, you want to get Mario to this corner of the roof. The window for this movement is super tight, so you want to do it as quick as possible. The fastest way to do this is by backflipping and holding down and right on the stick during the backflip. Get Mario as close to the corner as possible, but anywhere in this area should work. Like I said, the timing for this is super tight, so you probably want to try practicing this movement before you attempt the actual CRC. Once Mario is in position, pause the game again. Now you want to switch into 1-player and immediately go into first person in snapshot mode like you did during the Metro CRC. One thing that can help is that right as you gain control of Mario, before entering snapshot, quickly turn him so that he's facing towards the checkpoint. then enter first person in snapshot mode. Doing this takes a little extra time, but it helps with the CRC later on. Either way, now that you're in snapshot mode, zoom in and aim at the checkpoint. The way to line this one up is by lining the left side of the snapshot box along the corner of the platform. Basically, just copy what's on screen now. Once you're lined up, exit snapshot mode and pause the game. Enter 2-player mode, and during the transition, shake the Cappy controller and crouch with Mario as soon as possible. Once you see Cappy warp, you need to roll off the edge of the platform. If you're worried about timing the roll, just pause the game once you see Cappy's icon move, then unpause and press Y or X while Mario is crouched. After Cappy warps, you don't need to continue shaking, but make sure you keep the checkpoint on screen by moving the camera up. If the checkpoint goes off screen, Cappy can't hit it. If everything went right, you should hear the sound of Cappy hitting the checkpoint as Mario dies, and you'll respawn at the island. But here's what could have gone wrong. If after doing the first person lineup, Cappy just returns to Mario's head, it means you took too long on the movement to the other side of the roof. Practice that more until you can get it as quick as possible. If you captured the wire at the end of the CRC, it either means you rolled too late or didn't do enough ground pounds. And if you got all of that right, but Cappy still didn't hit the checkpoint, it means Mario didn't turn enough during the transition at the end. This happens a lot. Doing the additional turn with Mario before entering snapshot helps with this, but other than that, make sure you're giving enough time in between leaving snapshot and pausing the game. Alright, now it's time for the easiest CRC. After getting the Ogre Moon, line Mario up on this roof here. Now there's two ways to line this part up. A slower, more consistent way, and a faster but more precise way. I'll show both, starting with the easier one. After getting Mario into position, go into 1-player mode and enter first person and snapshot. Line the camera up around here. Try to be exactly where I have it here, but if you're off by a bit, it doesn't really matter. Now press B to exit snapshot, click the stick to exit first person, and do a full jump and ground pound at the peak. Now go back into 2-player and send Cappy out with the second controller. Now for the harder setup. Stand Mario in the same spot as the other setup, but this time stay in 2-player and line him up the same way as the last CRC. The goal is that after centering the camera, this torch should be just touching the right edge of the screen. If you're slightly left of this, it should work, but being any further right will result in Cappy missing the checkpoint. Once you're lined up, do a full jump with Mario and ground pound at the peak. Now send Cappy out with the second controller. Whichever setup you did, once you sent Cappy out, either use the beat titled Island 3 to 4 to time the ground pounds, or spam ground pound for 69 seconds. Once you're done with the ground pounds, wait 2 seconds, then crouch with Mario and start shaking with the Cappy controller. Once you see Cappy warp, just backflip with Mario and keep shaking. Make sure the camera is facing the checkpoint, and after a few seconds you should see Cappy warp and hit the checkpoint. But here's a couple things that could have gone wrong. First, if Cappy didn't warp up to the island after the backflip, this means you either lined up wrong, or you didn't do a big enough jump before ground pounding after the lineup. And if Cappy did warp up, but didn't hit the checkpoint, this most likely means the lineup was messed up. It could also mean you didn't do enough ground pounds though. And now the last CRC. After getting the Shards Moon and the Roof Moon, bring Mario to this part of the roof. Line him up on the 4th tile from the left and push him all the way against the top. Now, line him up so he's facing roughly towards the checkpoint all the way up top. Once you've done that, send Cappy out and push him all the way into the void. Now, ground pound with Cappy, either using the beat titled Island 4 to 6 Inner Wall, or by spamming ground pound for 2 minutes and 49 seconds. Once you finish ground pounding, wait 2 seconds, then crouch with Mario and shake with the Cappy controller. Once Cappy warps, pause the game, or, like before, you can pause buffer. Then unpause and get Mario to this spot as quick as possible. The fastest way is to backflip and immediately cancel the backflip by pressing the cap throw button while holding down on the stick. You want to stand Mario basically on the middle of this crack in the tile, but it's pretty lenient. Like with the first Bowser CRC, you can quickly turn Mario towards the checkpoint before entering first person. I actually recommend it more here since there's more leniency with the movement, But whether or not you do that, go into first person in snapshot mode and line it up so this little gold thing on the wall is inside the snapshot box. Once you're lined up, exit snapshot and pause the game, making sure to give a little time in between for Mario to turn. Then, enter 2-player again. Like always, shake with Cappy and crouch with Mario, but this time, also hold up on the right stick to move the camera up. The camera defaults to facing down and away from the checkpoint, so you need to immediately move it so you don't miss Cappy hitting the checkpoint. If you did everything right, then you're done with the CRCs. But here's what could have gone wrong with this one. If Cappy comes back to Mario's head after re-entering 2-player, it means you took too long getting into position. If Cappy warps but goes too far left or right of the checkpoint, it means you didn't give enough time for Mario to turn in between leaving snapshot and pausing. And if Cappy warped in line with the checkpoint but didn't hit it, it either means you didn't do enough ground pounds or you didn't turn the camera towards the checkpoint in time. And that's it. Now you're done learning the CRCs. Again, if you have any questions or want a refresher on lineups or anything for the CRCs, join the Discord and check out the slides document linked in the description. Also, if this helped at all, I guess you can subscribe. I don't know, most of my content isn't tutorials, but if you like the content, go ahead and subscribe. Thanks.